Language. People are changing their language to use people first language and to actually talk about pretrial outcomes and the positives. And this is important because we know most people are successful on pretrial release. And the fact that the field is acknowledging that by focusing on success and not failure is very important. That shift in attitudes, beliefs, is actually contributing to policies and practices reflecting that. So, what we see here is that the change is deeper than just changing words.
Over the past year, what I think one of the most important changes was watching jurisdictions transform their ideas to reality. In one county, they launched the first pretrial services agency ever in that state. I also got to witness two Washington state counties go from not having any data at all on their pretrial outcomes to now having data and measures to evaluate their system, and it actually works.
We led the Rural Pretrial Fellowship to bring pretrial practitioners together from across the country. It was incredible to see how they connected and mentored each other. What stood out the most was how validating it was for them to realize that no matter where they were, they shared similar challenges. Through these connections, they learned to adapt the best professional practices in pretrial justice to meet the unique needs of their local communities.
So within the last year, the most important advancement for me has been surrounding domestic and intimate partner violence. We've been able to create a bridge for those victims and survivors on one extreme and those that are accused on the other extreme to safely bring people together to have very, very intense and very meaningful conversations with the whole end goal of reducing harm for individuals as well as communities.
I see a real push among pretrial service agencies towards supportive pretrial services. In Ohio, I'm working with a community group, and they are drawing on resources already available in their community to connect individuals to services that address their needs, stabilize their lives, and meet their legal obligations until their case is resolved.
I've seen a real shift in the field, in particular pretrial system stakeholders and practitioners, shifting from managing failure to managing success, really focusing on how can an individual be successful and what are the needs that they have that need to be met. Prior to that, at the beginning of my career as a practitioner, I was part of making policies and practices that were focused on how to avoid people from failing. And the emphasis was on managing that failure. And that really didn't serve the people that we were supporting or tasked with supports.
So what I've seen in the past year is system stakeholders really starting to take to heart the idea of making intentional pretrial decisions, particularly about release versus detention. So if you've got someone who poses a significant risk to public safety or risk of flight, maybe look to the examples of New Jersey and Illinois and have an intentional detention hearing requested by the prosecution where both sides put on evidence and the judge actually decides, should this person stay in jail or should they be released? That's more consistent with our constitutional principles. It's a better way to enhance community safety and well-being. And above all else, it just makes sense.
What I think was exciting in 2024 is that Illinois implemented the Pretrial Fairness Act at the end of 2023, and its experience throughout the year really shows that money bond has no role to play in a system of pretrial justice. They implemented an intentional preventive detention framework, and that makes sure that people are not unnecessarily detained. It keeps communities safe, and it gives people procedural justice.
I'm really excited about a movement towards a more systems-based approach to improving pretrial justice. More states are paying attention to what is happening in the field, and they're getting involved in learning about the research and what is effective. We're also seeing more collaboration between pretrial system stakeholders.
So I'm noticing that there is more emphasis on educating and training the judiciary. And, that's an exciting shift. And I'm hopeful that this will lead to more judges being interested in data-informed practices, operationalizing best professional practices, expanding their risk tolerance, and changing systems going forward, but using data-driven decision making.
I'm excited to see more pretrial practitioners seek out information and training. APPR has built a robust training program that is informed by the field's needs. And as more and more practitioners participate, I expect to see increased trust in pretrial services and to provide supports for people to remain in the community.
In the next year, we're going to see stronger pretrial leaders who are equipped to lead their programs. The leaders I work with are more knowledgeable than ever, and this gives them purpose and confidence to lead their agencies. I think we're going to see this trend continue to grow across the field, which will lead to more collaborative and evidence-based system change.
I am most excited to see the pretrial programs finding innovative ways to make a real impact in their communities. I'm also most excited about the expansion of mentorships and partnerships in the pretrial field, especially for rural practitioners, so they can continuously learn from and support each other. Watching rural pretrial practitioners grow in their experience and confidence has been amazing. Some of them are now leading trainings and initiatives within their states on pretrial practices, which is truly inspiring.
So for 2025, I'm most excited about continuing the innovative domestic violence and intimate partner violence work. Through the trainings as well as conversations that we're having, we're actually modeling for communities how they can take on this very sensitive issue. For a very long time, there hasn't been much movement on this type of violence, in pretrial field because the charged nature of the topic. And so again, we have an opportunity to really continue to bridge the gap and have those very important conversations with the end goal of harm reduction.
What I'm excited about for 2025 is seeing the number of communities that are embracing the idea of voluntary supportive services for people on pretrial release. What this does is it offers people the opportunity to get transportation or treatment services, and it's voluntary. It's not ordered by the court, but all of this will help make sure that people succeed on pretrial release and aren't penalized for some minor violations.
I'm excited about the momentum for change at the state level. It really seems like a growing number of states are pursuing this sort of change, whether it's through legislative committees or other cross-functional teams or the bodies that promulgate court rules. I think they've been inspired by the examples of New Jersey and Illinois, who both have eliminated money altogether and implemented a more rational, intentional system of pretrial decision-making. And by all measures, they seem to be doing well. So what I'm looking forward to seeing in 2025 is how more and more states move along the trajectory towards similar sorts of change.